So this is the third critique now of Walter Veith's 5-video documentary on the three angels' messages. This video, we're going to look at 4 clips. Fewer clips in this video, hopefully a shorter video. The Walter Veith video was 24 minutes, shortest one so far. Let me just do a brief commentary here first. The first 4 minutes was just what I said in the last video. It's just the same eye candy and we love Iceland and beautiful pictures, but it's just the first 4 minutes is just gone. A 24-minute video, the first 4 gone. Then he speaks of God's creation. It actually shows some very beautiful pictures. Great footage. I loved it. I thought it was wonderful. All the marvels of creation. But then I'm thinking, okay, I'm 1/3 through with this video right now, watching it, and I see all these beautiful pictures of God's creation, and I thought this was a 3 angels documentary. Here we are again. Walter Veith cannot keep on topic. We're into creation. Then it appears to me, I'm just going to say it appears to me because he doesn't overtly say it. It appears to me that what I just watched in that creation part was a summary of the first angel's messages, being, God's creation. Well, that's not the gospel. To worship God's creation is more New Age than Christian. Matter of fact, not more, it is New Age. It's not Christian. Christians can have an appreciation for God's creation, and we do, but it is not the gospel message. Again, this is just Adventism, confusing biblical teaching, which I expect them to do because they're not Christian. So anyway, I've already dealt with the false 3 angels messages ad nauseum in the previous 2 critiques of Walter Veith's, I think, horrible documentary at this point of 3 angels messages, as well as other videos that I've done. Then he just quickly, he translates right from that into Babylon and the second angel's message. So anyway, let's watch this first clip here.
Full of names of blasphemy. There you have the blasphemy again that was associated with the beast in Revelation chapter 13 that you found in the little horn of Daniel chapter 7, both of which were described as the Antichrist power by the reformers, the papal system.
So in this clip here, we got to be clear by now, if you watch the previous 2 critiques that I've done, the second angel, as he says, is Babylon. Babylon the Great is Rome. Right? Why? Because the reformers said so. You know what? Every time he says it, I still have to stop and comment on it. Think about what he just said. Babylon is Catholicism, not because the Bible tells us that, but because the reformers told us that. So Seventh-day Adventism, where do you get your spiritual truth or knowledge from? Is it the Word of God or is it men? You get it from men, period, because he and others say this over and over and over. So far in every video of his, he keeps saying this. The Adventist, which means the Adventist gospel stands or falls on men, on what the reformers said. Not on the Word of God, but on men. I mean, that right there should already, red flags should already be going off. Here, let's just pile more onto this. In other words, the Adventist gospel cannot exist until the reformers exist and identify Babylon as Catholicism. Meaning, there is no gospel message, no Bible gospel message until we have reformers who identified Babylon. That's just nonsense. If go back, look at my previous critique, or just read 1 Corinthians 15, 1 through 4. That's the gospel message of the Bible. We don't have to wait until the 1600s for reformers to come and identify Catholicism as Babylon so we can have a second angel's message. Only in Adventism would you get that kind of nonsense and that bad doctrine. So anyway, a gospel message that identifies itself and relies on men being alive in the 1600s is not a gospel message. Period. Anyway, let's watch the second clip.
The standard of righteousness in the world today is not the Word of God. The standard of righteousness in the world today is human rights. And human rights comes from the pen of the papal system. Encyclical after encyclical has spelled out the human rights that we have in the world today. And these human rights negate the Word of God, no matter how good they sound. Because if we look at the commandments, you can take any one of them. Honor thy father and thy mother, that it may be well with you. Child right has been placed above parental right. But the Bible places parental right above child right. Thou shalt not kill. It is your right to have an abortion, and it is right to be forcing individuals to supply that abortion. Thou shalt not kill. And so we can go down the system. Thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not steal. Rome teaches that it is your right to procure your livelihood from the riches of others.
So in this clip, now he sets up the grand conspiracy that is Catholicism. And that's going to happen again later on in the video. He sets up this human rights as opposed to biblical rights by God. Human rights, it's the evil Catholics. They're all behind it. They do it. They whip out their evil Catholic pen and they write evil human rights. They may sound nice, like he says, but he writes out the evil Catholic human rights. Okay, so juxtaposes God's law and the evil Catholics writing human rights. The unspoken that he and the SDA Church he's doing here is he's basically saying the Seventh-day Adventist Church is the one that keeps the commandments, that upholds God's law. Catholicism and compromising Protestants don't do that. So he's kind of setting up this duality, which they do in Adventism. That's what I expect them to do. But you know what, Adventists, you don't keep the commandments. I know you say you keep the commandments. You don't keep the commandments unless you're perfect. To rely on the law is to find yourself cursed. Look with me here in Galatians 3:10. There's this dangerous book that I mentioned. Galatians 3:10 says what? For all who rely on works of the law are under a curse. That's you, Adventist. You rely on works of the law. Apostle Paul says you're under a curse. For it's written, cursed be everyone who does not abide in all things written in the book of the law and do them. If you don't do them all 600 plus laws, you are cursed. Adventist, I want you to look me straight in the eye and tell me you have always kept all the laws. Because that's what Galatians 3:10 says. Laws. All. Nomos. Not 10 commandments. Laws. All the Mosaic laws. Right? Look with me with a straight face and say, you've never lied. You've always, and even as a child, you obeyed. You honored your mother and your father. You never stole anything. On and on and on. Right? So tell me you're perfect. Sinless. Because if you're not, you're just like the rest of us. You're a lawbreaker. So, no, you don't keep the commandments. You don't keep the law. But notice this now. Because that's actually what he's advocating. You keep the law. Well, the Apostle Paul says what? Unless you do and you do all of it, which you're not going to do, you're cursed. Oh, now wait a second. Galatians 1 says you preach a false gospel, you're cursed twice. Galatians 3 says you try to keep the law and you try to rely on it for your salvation, you're cursed. Adventist, you're living under 3 curses here by the same apostle in the same book. Again, Adventist, this Galatians is the most dangerous book for an Adventist to read because you'll study yourself right out of Adventism. Read the book of Galatians, Adventist. Put all your Ellen White books down. Just read the Bible and the book of Galatians. And do it in one sitting. Do that. Notice what Walter Veith said here. He said, thou shalt not kill. Kill? Is that what Exodus 20:13 says? Thou shalt not kill? It says thou shalt not murder, right? Is there a difference between killing and murder? This is just more evidence. Now, I know. I make mistakes in my videos all the time. Probably already made some mistakes in this video. But sloppy professor Walter Veith makes these kind of mistakes all the time. He doesn't cite facts, vague generalities, etc. I actually, to me now, I just coined this term for him. He's a sloppy professor Veith is really what he is. Sloppy, vague Professor Veith. Then he mentions the evils of abortion, because the evil Catholics, when they got their evil Catholic pen out and started writing laws, they allowed for abortion. Okay. So is abortion the expression of Catholic human rights? Is it? You want to camp there, Adventist? Let's look here. Here is a faithful Adventist. Look at the lower left-hand corner. It says Profile Andrew. I've looked at a number of his videos on YouTube. This is just one I pulled at random. He is a faithful Adventist. I don't know why he stays in the church, because he has been taking you Seventh-day Adventists to task for all your pro-abortion comments, stances, etc. And in this just one video here, here's celebrity Adventist John Lomacang here, that he takes to task in this video for saying the Lord never rescinded choice. Wow. Now I think it was that video, or maybe another one of his I looked at, but he mentioned this ministry magazine you see here it's August of 1991. And I'm looking here on page 11 where you see the red box. I'm gonna make it bigger. Read along with me in this left-hand column, because this was amazing to me when I read it. And it goes like this. During my wife's pregnancy with our son Seth, we decided to look for a Christian doctor who shared our sanctity of life convictions. So we drove to Tacoma Park, Maryland, to the office of Dr. What's his name? A Seventh-day Adventist. Following the test and examination that confirmed that she was pregnant, the very first question she was asked was, do you want this baby or do you want an abortion? We looked at each other in shock and disbelief. We then turned and said, we're sorry, we must be in the wrong place. We got up and left. Footnote 1. Wow. Look at the very last line in that same column, and then read with me the next few lines. The very last line says what? He answered, I'm sorry to tell you that the Seventh-day Adventists are aborting hundreds of babies in their hospitals. Wow. Just look at all Profile Andrew's videos on abortion and Seventh-day Adventists. That's kind of one reason why I don't do abortion videos in Seventh-day Adventists. He's done it. He's exposed the church. I guess on one hand, I don't feel the need to do it. He's doing it as a Seventh-day Adventist. I don't know why he's still a Seventh-day Adventist. According to Walter Veith, he shouldn't be one. Seventh-day Adventism has compromised itself. So according to Walter Veith, abortion proves, the existence of and approval of abortion approves human rights and the rejection of God's law. Walter Veith has just proven Seventh-day Adventism is human rights and not God's law. Anyway, I thought this was a documentary again on the three angels' messages. Again, he's all over the place. Secondly, if he wants to talk about abortion, why is he missing so many facts? This fact that Seventh-day Adventism is conducting abortions in their hospitals worldwide is a secret in hiding in plain sight. It's not hard to find. So does he know? Does he not know? Again, here's Walter Veith, Mr. Sloppy Research, Mr. Vagueness himself, getting the facts completely wrong. Let's continue though, because you'll notice also in the video when I put remember this quote, he says, "Do not steal." Well, that's a good one. Ellen White, the prophet of the SDA Church, she's a known thief, a known literary thief that profited financially from her thievery. You know what? If thievery is a sign of corruption, like Walter Veith is telling us, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is about as corrupt as they come. Because most of her books, the grand majority, are thievery. She is stolen. Look at this YouTube page here. And from Test the Prophet. He's got 4 videos as of today out there showing the actual evidence. He brings home the receipts. Ellen White is a thief and a plagiarist. So, are we to believe Walter Veith? They keep the commandments, yet they murder, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and they steal. Their prophet does. Anyway, let's watch this third clip.
So the nations have drunk of this wine and have adopted a system of morality, not based on the Word of God, but based on the philosophy, the Greek philosophy, the natural law philosophy of Rome. And by signing these accords, Protestantism has identified itself with this system and has adopted a plan of salvation contrary to the Bible. She is fallen. She is fallen.
Walter Veith should be more careful in examining his own church. Or perhaps he's doing this on purpose for his own gain and glory. If I shamed the Seventh-day Adventist Church as much as he has so far in just this video, I'd have been called a Jesuit by now, and all kinds of other things. He's done a good job of showing the Seventh-day Adventist Church, like he said, his words, Greek philosophy and natural law, the philosophy in Rome. Well, that's what the Seventh-day Adventisms are doing. Then he mentioned this. He's mentioned this in this clip here about the Protestants, by signing these accords, has identified with this system, the Roman system. Now wait a second. When I saw that, so he's saying Protestants have signed into the Roman system. Adventists tell me all the time they're Protestants. Is he accusing Adventism of signing into the Roman system? I think not. He's trying to distance himself from the Protestants. What he's doing is actually secretly teaching the remnant church concept. Because here's what we all know. Adventists are not Protestants. Adventists are Adventist. Protestants are Christians. There is a difference. Now, I know Adventists love to play the game, and they call me brother, and we're just one big Protestant faith. Well, not according to Walter Veith. Not here, you're not. Protestants they signed an accord in the 1990s with Rome, and they signed on to the system, agreeing with them. And by the way, just who are they, these Protestants? My church didn't sign no agreement with Rome, nor does it agree theologically with many aspects of Rome. So here he is again, painting with a broad brush, no facts, no data, just sloppy Walter Veith research thrown out there like it's truth, and we all know it, but no, we don't. And he's got it wrong again, like he gets it wrong all the time. Then he says, Protestantism has adopted a plan of salvation contrary to the Bible. Okay, more vague generalities from sloppy Professor Veith. No, it's Adventism who preaches a cursed gospel, cursed twice, Galatians 1, 6 through 9. So let's watch this fourth and final clip.
And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Today we know that Rome controls the financial systems of the world. It is through the Knights of Malta and through the Jesuits who own the banking systems of the world that they control the economies of the world.
All right. This is your, call yourself warned. This is your get your tinfoil hat on. Put it on. We need it here in this segment so we can keep the evil Jesuits from reading your mind. Walter, he starts us off. He quotes Revelation 18:3. And the part is that they waxed rich through the abundance of delicacies. And then without missing a beat, he goes on to defining who's waxing rich with the abundance of delicacies. And he says, well, we know Rome controls the financial system. We do? Really? Here's sloppy research Walter Veith again, just saying, well, we all know Rome controls the financial system, and the Jesuits control it too, right? I feel like I'm in the middle of a George Norrie sci-fi broadcast, or I seriously need my tinfoil hat here. And the Knights of Malta and the Jesuits own the banking system. Really, every banking system. I happen to bank at a bank that is privately owned. They're not Jesuits. They're Christians. So they don't own every banking system. I know one. And if I know one, I'm sure there's dozens. This guy, I'm telling you, Walter Veith is just sloppy, not to be trusted, period. How in the world does this guy read Revelation 18:3 and then all of a sudden we jump to, here's what it means. It means that Rome's in control of the financial system and the Knights of Malta and the Jesuits own the banking system. See, he did it again. He read Revelation 18:3 and poured all kinds of words and meaning and concepts into the text which don't exist. Welcome to Adventism. Welcome to the nutty world of Walter Veith and his nutty conspiracy theories. Because that's really what this last segment's about. Just nutty conspiracy theories. Which there is a conspiracy theory strain that runs through Adventism. And it runs stronger and deeper in the Walter Veith followers that are out there. This explains why Walter Veith attracts a rather bizarre audience who are always looking at the Illuminati, the all-seeing eyes out there doing this, secret societies, persons that watch his videos. So, not Bible, but nutty conspiracy theories. Welcome to the world of Walter Veith. Let's summarize this. As I expected, he's repeating previous material and going off track. That seems to be a trend here now. The Seventh-day Adventist three-angel gospel message, it doesn't need 5 videos, roughly 2.5 hours. He could have done it in 1. This is like a revelation seminar. I don't know, this is crazy. This series is completely off track. It's more of a typical Seventh-day Adventist screed against Catholicism, a screed against Protestants and how they've compromised themselves or going to compromise themselves with Rome, and of course to Walter Veith's crowd, he always brings in the nutty conspiracy theory stuff, things that he does. It's just the same old tired Adventism, we hate Catholics and Protestants are compromised message. That's all this is. It's not a Three Angels documentary. It doesn't documentary anything other than that we hate Catholics and Protestants are compromised. Well, this I can be sure of. Walter Veith is cursed. Seventh-day Adventism is cursed. Not personally, but for the message that they preach. Seventh-day Adventism preaches the three angels gospel, which is not the gospel of the Bible. You will not find it in the Bible. Adventists, before you run around with your hair on fire because you see the word everlasting gospel and you say, see, there it is, there it is. No, it's not. I want the individual messages of each of the individual angels. I can only find those in Adventist literature. 28 Beliefs book is one source where you can find those. You will not find them in the Bible. So Adventism is cursed. False gospel, false message. When Walter Veith adds a third curse on top of you for following him, and that is for relying on the law. Galatians 3:10 says, you're cursed if you do that, because you can't keep the whole law. You got to keep it all, and you can't. And Adventists, you know in your heart, you don't and you haven't kept all the commandments. You're like the rest of us. You break them routinely. I know I do, and I got to ask for forgiveness. You should start doing the same and quit saying you keep the commandments because you don't. Quit saying that. Don't place that curse upon your head. I can hardly wait now to examine videos 4 and 5. I predict the more of the same Walter Veith, vague generalities, misquote, lacking fact, lacking data, inaccurate assumptions, and more unbiblical Adventist teachings are to come. That's what I predict in videos 4 and 5.